It's been the most talked about component for any business in the industrial distribution market segment, e-commerce. With big players like Amazon stepping up their game in order to capitalize on the $1 trillion B2B sector, there's a lot to learn in order to remain competitive. Acquity Group's 2014 B2B State of Procurement Study demonstrates the shift B2B customers are already making to online sales and suggests that 68% of business buyers report using some type of electronic purchasing in 2014, up from 57% in 2013. We had a chance to sit down with Bob Barr, Managing Director at Acquity Group, part of Accenture Interactive, to chat about some of the group's most recent research, as well as how they think industrial distributors should respond. Bob, as you know, there's been a lot of activity around traditionally consumer-facing websites getting into the B2B sector. We might even consider this year the year of the marketplace. Do you see marketplaces like Amazon Business or Alibaba impacting e-commerce for industrial distributors?
I see marketplaces as impacting industrial distribution across a couple of dimensions that I would holistically categorize as causing them to step up their game. First and foremost, they've got to stay sharp on pricing. These marketplaces amass a great amount of SKUs and a great amount of volume, and they tend to be very aggressive on pricing, especially around all the commodity items. What we have found, in fact, in our research is that almost up to 40% of the actual shopping experience that a B2B buyer engages in is actually not on the supplier's website. So they are looking across a lot of channels, looking essentially for price and availability and information, so that when they do come back to the supplier's site, they are going to be equipped with a sense of price and where they could find it potentially cheaper. So staying sharp on price is certainly one. Two is moving their experience. So many B2B sites are still in the content-only days, or they're into a very, very simple buying experience, and they certainly haven't kept pace with the B2C experiences that the new demographic buyer, the new millennial buyer, is expecting when they come to visit these sites. So moving their experience, working on the navigation, appreciating the value of a really good search box and search function on the site. I'll say secondly then, it's moving that experience on the web itself, but also recognizing that they're going to have to get into mobile. In many cases, mobile first is where a lot of potential buyers will go. This is particularly profound, let's say, out on the shop floor, when somebody is out, trying to, discover that a piece of equipment's not functioning and they need a replacement part. It's a quarter mile back to the desktop for them to potentially look up and place an order. They've got a mobile device in their hand and they want to be able to do it there. Or in the mid-market, we find a lot of mid-market businesses actually will do their buying after hours at the kitchen table or potentially on the couch at home. And they aren't necessarily sitting there with a desktop computer. So moving the experience, stepping into mobile equally as well. But probably the third thing, and the most important in my mind anyway, it's causing industrial distributors to ask the fundamental question, what is my value proposition? How am I actually differentiated in the mind of the buyer? What value are they coming to me for? If it's not on availability, wide catalog, and price, I've got to fundamentally offer something that these other B2C players coming into the market don't. And this typically happens in, I think, two fashions, at least at the moment. One is recognizing services. Can I actually engage with the prospective buyer, my customer, and engage in more solutioning and service selling as opposed to solely product selling? Can I help them appreciate and understand how to use the products, how to use them correctly? What substitutes might be available if a particular item is out of stock? So offering good fundamental service is a differentiator. Recognizing and leveraging, one of the current buzzwords out called omni-channel. So many B2B industrial distributors, if they have a web and they get into mobile, well, they have an opportunity and likely have a legacy infrastructure called the call center or called the bricks and mortar branch store, or if they're even more progressive, maybe they're enabling chat online. Well, if you recognize that a lot of these pure play e-commerce sites don't have bricks and mortar, for example, or they haven't enabled chat, or they don't have a phone number you can call, you can differentiate yourself by offering these options, these lifelines, I'll say. When somebody needs a product in 2 hours and not tomorrow, is there a local store that they can in fact go to? Buy online, pick up in store. So I think it's around these three dimensions that we see industrial distributors really stepping up their game, or really needing to step up their game. It's the idea of experience, staying sharp on price, and really exploring, understanding, and recognizing how they need to differentiate from these other pure plays and add value to their customers.